Our girl Mabel is enjoying a peaceful day in the garden. Sunshine, gentle breezes, the whole royal princess package. Everything's perfect until an uninvited guest crashes the party. A dark-haired man approaches her knight, Enrique, with a smirk that screams trouble. "So you are the demon of Devlin?" He probes, his words dripping with insinuation. "I heard through the grapevine you'd become Her Majesty's guard." This guy's clearly not here to make friends. The air instantly turns icy. Enrique, the golden-haired knight, narrows his eyes, but a cold smirk plays on his lips. "I abandoned that particular moniker some time ago." You can practically see the sparks fly between them, a history of bad blood ready to boil over. And our girl Mabel, stuck right in the middle, looking like she's about to have a heart attack. She can sense the tension, the unspoken history between these two, and it is definitely not a friendly one. The dark-haired dude's eyes are locked on, full of suspicion and hostility. A storm is brewing. Get lost. The words are cold, sharp, and territorial. This is Javier territory, after all. Mabel is startled by the sudden hostility, but her protective instincts kick in instantly. Her tiny frame shields Enrique. "If anyone should get lost here, it's us," she declares, mustering all her courage while clinging to her knight. Even scared, she won't let anyone bully her people. Seeing this small but fierce protector, Enrique's heart warms. With a gentle smile, he tells Mabel, "I'll be going then, Enrique. See you later," his tone light, as if the tense standoff was nothing more than a brief interruption. But the dark-haired guy, Aiden, clearly didn't see it as a minor interruption. He turns around, his face morphing into a gentle smile. "Yes, Your Majesty. It was wonderful to see you again." That was a faster 180 than a pro skateboarder. The moment they're out of earshot, Mabel can't help but lecture him. "Aiden, why were you so rude to Enrique earlier? He's such a sensitive soul." She's genuinely concerned for her knight, completely oblivious to the complex emotions simmering beneath Aiden's gentle mask. "So don't ever do that again, all right?" Aiden's voice is low, carrying an undertone of command. Mabel freezes. He won't even answer her. And in Aiden's mind, a storm is raging. His father's words echo in his ears. There's no doubt that he's of impure blood. This deep-seated prejudice makes it impossible for him to see Enrique as anything but a threat. To him, protecting the princess means cleansing her world of anything or anyone deemed impure. And the trouble just keeps on coming. At the party, a certain Lady Mitteron recognizes Aiden, and her disgust is palpable. "How dare he show his face at this party?" she sneers. "Someone of his ilk, serving as Her Majesty's guard? What a farce." The aristocratic food chain is on full, brutal display. Hearing those venomous words, Mabel feels a tremor of unease. "A Lady Mitteron," she murmurs, knowing a social hurricane is about to make landfall. Mabel turns to Aiden, her voice soft. "Aiden, are you all right?" He gives her a cold glance, his voice flat. "It doesn't matter. I'm used to such talk anyway." That one sentence pierces Mabel's heart. "So, you've heard people speak of you this way countless times?" She thinks, horrified. She can't imagine how much malice this stoic boy has endured behind his emotionless facade. Just as Lady Mitteron and her cronies are whispering amongst themselves, a sweet voice cuts through the air. "Looks like quite an engrossing conversation you're all having." It's Mabel, approaching with an innocent smile, but her blue eyes hold a sharpness far beyond her years. "Care to share what you were discussing?" The group jumps, bowing hastily. "Why, Your Majesty." The Queen has arrived, and the show is about to begin. Lady Mitteron's daughter tries to play it off. "We were just talking about which styles of ribbon are currently in fashion, Your Majesty." Mabel tilts her head, her smile growing sweeter. "Is that so? How strange." She says it softly, each word landing with perfect precision. "My Aiden is not a ribbon." The moment the words leave her lips, the color drains from the other girl's face. The strike was clean, elegant, and packed with undeniable authority. "Impure blood? Someone of his ilk." Mabel repeats their earlier words, her smile vanishing, replaced by an icy interrogation. The girl stammers, terrified. "This is simply all a misunderstanding, Your Majesty." Her friend sees the writing on the wall and bolts. Mabel looks coldly at the one who remains. "It seems I'm not worthy of attending this party." She turns, leaving a defiant back. "This isn't just about defending Aiden. It's a declaration, you don't get to touch my people. If he is unworthy, then so am I." Mabel's voice rings through the garden. Lady Mitteron's face is a mask of fury, forcing her daughter to apologize. Under the gaze of the entire party, the girl is made to bow to both Mabel and Aiden, her body trembling with humiliation. Mabel watches with cool detachment. She knows this is just the beginning. The real war has only just begun. The girl's apology is completely insincere, and Mabel sees right through it. But it doesn't matter. The public humiliation was the point. Once the dust settles, she puts her sweet smile back on, as if the powerful queen from moments ago was just an illusion. But only she knows the truth. A much bigger plan is already brewing in her mind. On the carriage ride back, those hurtful words echo in Mabel's thoughts. Impure blood. Unworthy. She wonders how often has he heard such insults hurled at him to become so numb. This wasn't just a personal attack. It was a ruthless indictment of the entire class system. And she, as the supreme ruler of the empire, would not let this stand. That he can be so nonchalant about those words. A fire of rage ignites within Aiden. I cannot let this stand. Outwardly, he calmly answers Mabel's questions, but secretly, the wheels are already in motion. Intel arrives swiftly. Yes, the two men are apparently quite close. Count Mitterrand operates a sizable gambling house and auction house in the capital, through which he appears to be making money illegally. A cold smile touches Aiden's lips. The fish is on the hook. A gambling house and an auction house, you say? Mabel flashes a devilish little smirk. Sounds like our guild is about to come into a lot of money. Aiden immediately catches her drift and tries to stop her. If you mean to go after Count Mitterrand for my sake, nope. But Mabel cuts him off, her voice firm. No, this is my revenge for them daring to question my trust. So it's for my sake, not yours. Mabel's smile is radiant, but her tone leaves no room for argument. Let's start planning right away, Aiden. Faced with such a resolute queen, what else could Aiden do? He bows his head in deference. Yes, your majesty. This dynamic duo is about to unleash a storm upon the entire aristocracy. Duke Javier is using Count Mitterrand to bankroll his activities. The intel reveals the puppet master behind the scenes. So, Mitterrand was just a pawn, and the real target is Duke Javier. They run a squeaky clean operation on the surface, but behind the scenes, they're cooking the books and siphoning off massive amounts of cash. A classic scheme, but too bad for them, they just ran into Mabel. If we apprehend Count Mitterrand, Duke Javier will be left without a source of funding. Mabel sips her tea calmly, her eyes gleaming with strategic brilliance. Now then, let's go cut him off. As the words are spoken, a crack silently appears on the glass of the Imperial Palace, a symbol of the coming shatter. The meticulously planned takedown has officially begun. Princess Mabel arrives, and her entrance is nothing short of spectacular. A magnificent carriage, stoic guards. Every detail screams imperial authority. Today, she's here to visit Count Mitterrand, in a way he most certainly won't be expecting. The plan unfolds flawlessly. A man claiming to be an employee of Mitterrand's casino coincidentally appears before Mabel, tearfully exposing the Count's crimes. Count Mitterrand, furious and panicked, yells at his own daughter, "Are you just standing there? Apologize to her." He has no idea he's already trapped in Mabel's meticulously woven web. The person you should apologize to isn't me, but my knight, Sir Aiden. Mabel's voice is quiet but powerful. She's making a statement for everyone to hear. Mess with her people, and you mess with the baby tyrant herself. Count Mitterrand grits his teeth in rage, completely helpless. Aiden watches it all, his eyes lowered, his inner turmoil hidden from the world. Watching the disgraced Count Mitterrand force out an apology, Mabel allows herself a sly little smirk. Ah, the sweet taste of revenge. This isn't just for Aiden. It's for the powerless version of herself from her past life. In this life, she will bring every single person who wronged her to their knees. With Mitterrand dealt with, Mabel is in high spirits, already planning for the future. We're going to confiscate his manor and use it as our guild office, she tells Aiden. Her tone is casual as discussing the weather. Aiden looks at her innocent smile, but his mind is elsewhere. He whispers, "I think it's time for you to bring the you-know-what." A blush creeps onto Mabel's cheeks. Could it be? The whispers are everywhere. The one from Devlin, said to be Her Majesty's favorite. Why does she insist on keeping such a dangerous individual around? Mabel hears every word, and she couldn't care less. A cold thought forms in her mind. We'll see if they're able to keep running their mouths like that after what happens today. A powerful energy surges within her, and with a sudden scream, something shatters. What's all the commotion? Amidst the chaos, a smirk plays on Mabel's lips. A man bursts in, shouting in panic, "Your Majesty!" Seeing this, Count Mitterrand roars with rage. "How dare you barge in here? Take him away." He still thinks he's in control, completely unaware that he's the one about to be dragged out. The intruder is pinned down by the guards, but he keeps struggling, pleading, "Your Majesty." I beseech you, lend me your ears. The Count furiously orders his men to get him out. But then, Mabel speaks, her voice calm and clear. Wait. The entire scene falls silent. All eyes turn to this tiny figure. She may be a child, but the innate authority she commands is enough to silence the entire room. The man, Hansen, kneels and begins to reveal all of Count Mitterrand's crimes. Rigging the casino, keeping 2 sets of ledgers, embezzlement. The accusations are detailed, damning, and backed by evidence. As he listens, the color drains from the Count's face. All he can do is let out a hollow chuckle to mask his rising panic. The scales of power are tipping fast. Hold your tongue, Count Mitterrand. Aiden cuts in, his voice like ice. You dare defy Her Majesty's will? When questioned, Hansen confesses that he too was once blinded by greed, but for the sake of his family, he decided to come clean. His heartfelt confession makes Mitterrand's desperate denials seem even more pathetic. Daddy. Hansen recalls his daughter's innocent smile and his wife's gentle gaze. They are the reason for his repentance. He can't continue doing things that would bring shame upon them. He's willing to pay for his crimes, asking only that his innocent family be protected. The profound love of a father moves everyone present. Mabel listens quietly, memories of her past life flooding back. Villains had used her family to threaten her too. She looks at the desperate man before her, feeling nothing but cold contempt. He's even more shameless than she imagined. She cuts off Mitterrand's attempt to defend himself, smiling sweetly. It's all right. I have plenty of time. If you are innocent. She doesn't finish, but her icy gaze says it all. Game over. I will personally ensure your name is cleared. Mabel's voice echoes in the hall. Aiden grabs Mitterrand by the collar, roaring in his face before shoving him away. Everything is proceeding according to plan. Count Mitterrand's downfall is here. Just as Mitterrand tries to destroy the evidence, the 2 ledgers, Hansen throws himself forward, screaming in despair. No. It's his only lifeline and the key to bringing down the Count. The pages scatter, the damning records of their crimes laid bare for all to see. But Aiden is faster. He anticipated this move. He presses down on Mitterrand's hand, a triumphant smile playing on his lips. Everything is under control. He's the one directing this little play. If what Hansen is saying is indeed true, Count Mitterrand, you'd better brace yourself for what's to come. Mitterrand trembles, still muttering, it's all eyes. But Mabel just smiles and gives the order to Aiden. Seize him. Aiden crumples the evidence in his hand and coldly carries out the command. The board is cleared. As he's dragged away, Mitterrand is still screaming, I'm innocent. But no one is listening anymore. Mabel leans toward Aiden and whispers, you brought Hansen at precisely the perfect moment. Thanks. Aiden replies, not at all. I was simply acting on your orders. The young princess smiles, victorious. Everything went exactly as she planned. Oh, I was just thinking that. Mabel says, looking at Aiden's stoic profile with a happy grin. You and I make a great team. Though Aiden's expression remains unchanged, a flicker of something soft, almost gentle, seems to dance in his red eyes. Framed by roses, this young master and servant look like they were made for each other. On a stormy night, the former Count Mitterrand, stripped of everything, howls pitifully at Duke Javier's gate. Duke Javier, please open the door. You're the only one who can help me. He pounds on the door in desperation, rain and tears mixing on his wretched face. He's pinning his last shred of hope on his ally. But inside, Duke Javier is coldly dismissive. No, there's no need to let him in. In his eyes, Mitterrand has outlived his usefulness. What a fool, he thinks with contempt. Time and time again, I advised him not to dirty his own hands. Once a pawn is no longer useful, it's discarded. Such is the brutal law of the aristocratic world. But Duke Javier's smugness doesn't last long. His subordinate reports the entirety of the former Count Mitterrand's wealth has ended up in someone else's hands. What? Javier is floored. This means all the money he invested in Mitterrand is gone. Poof. Even worse, if he tries to claim his dividends now, he could be implicated in Mitterrand's crimes. He tried to be clever and ended up losing everything. The bad news keeps rolling in. The gold mine he invested in? Turns out there's no gold. No gold. Javier can't believe his ears. I even had an expert assess it to make sure, he roars in fury. Tell the miners to dig a little deeper. He refuses to accept the failure of his investment, acting like a gambler who's lost it all and can't walk away. This cannot be. Javier slumps into his chair. He can put off paying the debts for a little while, but this is a matter of pride. If word gets out that the house of Javier, the head family of the imperial faction, asked for a deferral on their debts, the blow to their reputation would be catastrophic. He cannot let that happen. Absolutely not. Just when Javier is at his wit's end, a visitor arrives, asking to see him urgently. The name is Ace. The name alone sends a jolt through him. Ace, the mysterious information broker, always brings unexpected news. Perhaps he could be the lifeline he so desperately needs. Ace brings crucial intel about trading companies and a crackdown at the harbor. To Javier, this information is a godsend. He trusts him completely. I see. I shall take your word for it, Ace. You haven't steered me wrong yet. He thinks he's found his way out of this mess, completely missing the subtle calculation hidden in Ace's smile. He's become much less wary of me, Ace thinks to himself. But then, Ace suddenly changes the subject, bringing up Count Mitterrand. He casually mentions that Javier himself told Mitterrand about his investment in the auction house. What? He said that. Javier's teacup shatters in his hand. The realization hits him like a physical blow. He's been played. Ace isn't here to help him. He's here to push him into an even deeper abyss. The trap has been sprung. Faced with Javier's shock, Ace just keeps smiling. He guides the conversation step by step, making Javier believe that he too is a victim, that he only invested to help a friend. Under the pressure of this carefully constructed verbal trap, Javier's defenses are starting to crumble. But there's no need to worry, my lord. You have me. Ace smiles, a tear glinting in his eye. It's a masterful performance, completely convincing. He successfully makes Javier believe that he is on his side. Little does he know, this is all just a setup for the final killing blow. Have I ever told you that I belong to evil, the Intelligence Guild? Ace finally reveals his hand. The words strike Javier like lightning. What? Evil. The legendary Intelligence Guild. It's only now that he understands. From the very beginning, he was nothing more than a pawn on someone else's board. It turns out, Ace was Aiden all along. He used a false identity to get close to Javier, earning his trust step by step, only to deliver the final blow when he was most vulnerable. We can do the same for you, Duke Javier. Aiden's voice is chilling, laced with threat. Javier knows he's been checkmated. There's no escape. Meanwhile, Mabel is listening to the after-action report. The House of Mitterrand has fallen to ruin. Oh dear, she says with mock surprise, but her eyes are dancing with amusement. With Daddy having found out about his criminal activities, the former count should count himself lucky that he managed to avoid execution. This little tyrant is thoroughly enjoying the fruits of her victory. This is why one needs to be good and kind to others. Mabel thinks cheerfully. It's a shame they couldn't take down Javier in one go, but cutting off his financial pipeline is still a massive win. That snake, he's very careful about covering his tracks. But that's fine. She has all the time in the world to play this game. He must have been real desperate. Mabel thinks, nibbling on a macaron with satisfaction. Excellent. Then proceed with the rest of the plan as I outlined earlier. She can't wait to renovate Mitterrand's old manor into the guild's new office. With Javier's right-hand man eliminated, the Duke himself is next on the list. With the intense political maneuvering on pause, life returns to its daily rhythm. The attendant, Gustav, comes to visit Mabel with a gift. His bright smile and thoughtful present are like a ray of sunshine, bringing a moment of light-hearted warmth to the palace. Gustav is still apologizing for the auction incident, and Mabel playfully huffs that she's still upset. Internally, she's grumbling about all the money her dad wasted. He's probably flat broke now. What a spendthrift emperor. Still, seeing Gustav's sincere plea for forgiveness does soften her mood. Gustav's gift is a pair of exquisite baby shoes. Shoes? Mabel is pleasantly surprised. Gustav smiles, his cheeks slightly pink. The minute I saw them, I thought of you. The sentiment behind the gift touches her more than any expensive jewel ever could. They are pretty fetching, Mabel admits with genuine delight. Gustav gently helps her put them on. As she stands up to show off her new footwear, her face is alight with pure happiness. It's the most sincere gift she's received since being reborn. Mabel takes a few test steps, then hops with joy. The shoes let out an adorable squeak with every movement. For a moment, she's just a normal little girl, reveling in a simple pleasure. The attendants watch her lively display, their faces filled with fond smiles. You're so adorable, Your Majesty. Gustav gushes, his eyes sparkling like stars. But inside, Mabel is having a complete meltdown. What is the meaning of this? Why on earth do these shoes squeak? She's a mature adult on the inside. Wearing something this childish is mortifying. Shoes that squeak with every step she takes. Mabel's rage meter hits maximum. She can't take it anymore. She collapses to the floor, clutching her head in a silent, furious scream. The attendants rush to calm her down. Please calm down, Your Majesty. Too late. Once tyrant mode is activated, it's not easily shut down. And from that day on, Mabel's nightmare began. Thanks to Gustav's successful gift, everyone started giving her squeaky shoes. She's 5 years old now, for crying out loud. She refuses to wear these childish things anymore. And so, a great princess escape begins within the palace walls. No, refusa. I'm not going to wear them, no matter what you say. Mabel, decked out in sneakers, tears through the palace. Behind her, a posse of attendants gives chase. She runs like the wind, down corridors and into the gardens, all to escape the horror of the squeaky shoes. Just as she's about to be caught, she sees him, her father, the emperor. Like a little butterfly, she flies into his arms, joyfully shouting, "Daddy!" He catches her in a gentle embrace, his blue eyes filled with nothing but adoration. Seeing his daughter run toward him, the emperor's mind drifts back in time. He remembers a woman who used to call his name with such warmth, a home he once knew. The memories leave him dazed for a moment, until Mabel's voice pulls him back to the present. "Daddy." Mabel looks at her zoned-out father with concern. The emperor snaps back, looking at this child who so resembles someone from his past, and a wave of emotions washes over him. He masks his feelings, makes a quick excuse, and leaves. Some scars, no matter how old, still ache. The squeaky shoe saga is finally over. The attendants bring good news. They found a new tutor for Mabel. Oh, Mabel is intrigued. They say the tutor is the dean of the academy, a certified genius. Mabel's eyes light up. She has a feeling things are about to get very interesting. This so-called genius dean, Franz Alonica, is an incredibly arrogant guy. He thinks he's been hired to teach a know-nothing baby, that this will be the easiest job in the world. He's already calculating how to profit from the position. Too bad for him. He has completely underestimated his new student. The first time Franz meets Mabel, he's stunned. The cutest, most adorable person in the entire world is true, he thinks to himself. But his admiration quickly turns to annoyance at her disrespect. He decides it will be impossible to teach her anything if she doesn't respect him. These nobles, he swears. Franz insists on starting with picture books, which does not sit well with Mabel. "But I don't want to study picture books," she protests. Franz dismisses her as a spoiled child. He has no idea he's dealing with the mind of an adult. She's not here to learn her ABCs. "I want to study Bordeauxism," Mabel says, dropping a bombshell. Franz is dumbfounded. That's a theory even senior academy students struggle with. Convinced she's lying, he makes a bet. "If you can memorize the entire alphabet after seeing it once, I'll grant you one wish." Mabel grins. "Sounds good to me." The prey has walked right into her trap. Franz gloats, thinking this naive emperor is about to make him filthy rich. He doesn't know that Mabel only needs a few moments to perfectly write out the entire alphabet. When Franz sees the paper, he's too stunned to speak. So, she really is a genius. "So then, teacher, my wish is..." Mabel produces a blank piece of paper. "For you to sign this." Franz stares at the blank contract, then glances at the stone-cold Aiden standing behind her, and a cold sweat breaks out on his forehead. He gets the feeling that if he doesn't sign, that boy will kill him. The genius dean finally understands. He's messed with a true baby tyrant. End scene. Franz's signature is now on paper, a fresh new slave contract in Mabel's tiny hands. But that was just the appetizer. With wide, innocent eyes, she throws out a casual question. "By the way, teacher, what are you good at?" "Frontstomach isu pusuma." He fails to notice the look in Aiden's eyes behind her. Cold, predatory, like a wolf that's cornered its prey. The real hunt has just begun. Perfect. Mabel claps her hands, then immediately assigns him his new job. "Let's put teacher in charge of our guild's accounting. Pay him generously." Looking at Aiden's refuse and Udai face, what could Franz possibly say? He tearfully accepts. And just like that, Franz Alonica, the genius dean, officially becomes Her Majesty's first slave. Look at that smug grin on our girl's face. Textbook-level villainy, and we're here for it. Meanwhile, in another part of the palace, a gentle soul is thinking of his sister. This is Oscar, Mabel's brother. He's quietly reminiscing about the happy times they spent together, crafting replies to letters. It was their little secret, their special bond. His world is simple. As long as he's with Mabel, it's full of light. Oscar feels it in his bones. Mabel must need his help with her studies. So, full of anticipation, he appears in her room like a gentle breeze. He has no idea he's about to hear the words that will shatter his heart. Mabel looks up, surprised but happy to see him. Oscar." "I'm writing a letter," Mabel says, brandishing her quill with excitement. Then, with a proud, independent tone, she drops the bombshell. "I don't need your help anymore, Oscar. I can write all by myself now." The words hang in the air, instantly freezing the mood. Oscar stops dead in his tracks, the smile wiped clean from his face. Yes, I was writing to Enrique, Mabel adds, completely oblivious. That innocent comment was the final nail in the coffin. Oscar flinches as if he's been physically struck. He feels his heart crack. Turning his back to her, he musters all his strength not to break down, leaving only a wounded whisper behind. So mean. Mabel is completely lost. What did she do wrong? Thankfully, her attendants are masters of emotional intelligence. They tell her with grave seriousness, "You were in the wrong, Your Majesty." Seeing their stern faces, Mabel almost wants to laugh. Oh, so this is what it's like to be gently called out for your mistakes in a loving home? The lady in waiting explains that Prince Oscar always looked forward to reading and writing letters with her. It was his most treasured activity. This wasn't just about helping, it was their unique bond. And it hits Mabel like a ton of bricks. She remembers now, Oscar always had a huge smile on his face when he helped her, and she took that gentle kindness for granted. More importantly, Oscar was waiting. He wanted to be the one to receive the very first letter she ever wrote by herself. That would have meant the world to him. Mabel's heart sinks. Technically, the first document she ever wrote was that forged mine deed for Gustav. But that's not the point. The point is, she broke Oscar's heart. Then I shall find Oscar at once and make him feel better. However, it's not going to be that easy. Oscar has started avoiding her with tactical precision. Mabel even tries the classic trip and fall maneuver to create a chance encounter, but she completely whiffs it. Staring at the empty hall, she points an angry finger into the distance. Oscar, man, that guy can really hold a grudge. He's completely dodging me. I can't even bump into him accidentally. Mabel sighs in the carriage, frustrated. Her attendant suggests, give him a gift with a letter. He'll surely forgive you. Not a bad idea, but what to give? Mabel watches the noble kids playing with a ball in the garden, deep in thought. Flowers? Too generic. A ball? He's definitely got one of those already. Wandering the streets with her sister Larima, Mabel gets more and more discouraged. A terrible realization dawns on her. She has absolutely no idea what her own brother likes. Larima, I might be the worst little sister ever. Her head hangs low, every strand of her hair screaming dejected. She doesn't just want any gift. She wants to give him something he'll truly love. And right at that moment, slap! A sharp, stinging sound cuts through the air. Mabel freezes. That sound, it's too familiar. It's like a key, instantly unlocking her darkest, most repressed memories. It was the nightmare she desperately tried to run from as Julian, but never could. The sound of her deadbeat father's abuse. The source of all her past life suffering. The traumatic flood of memories overwhelms her, leaving her breathless. Mabel's body starts to tremble uncontrollably. Is something the matter, Your Majesty? Aiden's voice pulls her back from the abyss. Just seeing his familiar, reliable face is enough to miraculously calm her racing heart. Yeah, just seeing Aiden makes her feel at ease. No, it's nothing. Mabel shakes her head with a small smile. That's right. That was all in the past. She clenches her fist, reminding herself. She's not the helpless Julian anymore. Now, she has a real family. One that loves and supports her. She is Princess Mabel of the Erminot Empire. With determined strides, she heads towards the source of the sound. She's going to see for herself who dares to reenact the very scene she despises most. Behind a door, a red-haired man is roaring at a young boy. You useless fool. Can't you do anything right? Mabel's pupils constrict. That man is Duke Javier, the same man from the original story who nearly destroyed everything. The slap lands hard across the blonde boy's face, drawing blood. The boy takes it silently, his head bowed in humiliation. But when he lifts his gaze again, his golden eyes are no longer filled with weakness. They're filled with ice-cold hatred and resolve. An ominous purple aura flickers around him, as if something has awakened. Our story rewinds to 3 hours ago. Back then, Duke Javier was still playing the part of a loving father, fawning over his son, Enrique, and complimenting his new clothes. Thank you, father. Tears of gratitude well up in Enrique's eyes. He thinks this is a rare, tender moment between them. He has no idea that these fancy clothes are nothing more than the decorative wrappings for a sacrificial lamb, prepared for the slaughter. On the way to their meeting, the Duke casually mentions the family's financial crisis, but there's a smugness in his tone he can't hide. Enrique keeps his head down, a sense of dread growing in his stomach. As the heir, he knows his father never lets him near family business. Being brought along like this, it can't be good. When his father leads him into a VIP room, Enrique's internal alarms go off full blast. Why did he bring me here? A lavishly dressed man is already waiting, and his father greets him with an almost sycophantic tone. This is my son, Enrique. The Duke introduces him with the enthusiasm of a merchant showing off his prize goods. The man, Baron Khalifi, offers a gentle smile that sends a shiver down Enrique's spine. The boy greets him politely, but his mind is already screaming danger. The conversation that follows confirms his worst fears. His father is making a deal with the Baron for a massive loan. In the way that Baron looks at him, with undisguised, nauseating desire, the teacup in Enrique's hand begins to tremble. With the deal done, the Duke gets up to leave, pleased with himself. He pats his son's shoulder and says in a commanding tone, "I'm leaving first. You stay and keep Baron Khalifi company. Make sure you treat him with the utmost courtesy." Enrique looks up in disbelief. "Pardon?" Baron Khalifi, notorious in high society. He has a specific, disgusting taste, preying on young, sheltered boys from noble families. And now, his own father is about to push him into this monster's jaws for money. "Father!" Enrique's cry is filled with despair. How? How can he do something like this? Duke Javier looks at his son with cold detachment, as if seeing a disposable tool. For the glory and wealth of the family, what's the sacrifice of one son? Enrique lets out a dry, sarcastic laugh. He looks at this man and, for the first time, feels true disgust. This is his father, an irredeemable piece of trash. Then I shall take my leave. Enrique gets up, his face an emotionless mask. He refuses to stay here a second longer. The Duke is stunned, then explodes with rage. "Enrique, sit back down." But Enrique walks out without a backward glance. "Why, that ungrateful. Seems you and your son are of two minds." Baron Khalifi's voice drifts in from outside the door. The Duke's face turns beet red. "How dare you? Do you know how much work it took to make this deal happen?" He storms after him, eyes blazing like a cornered animal. Wham! A sickening crash. The Duke's fist connects hard, not with the wall, but with flesh and bone. Enrique lets out a pained grunt and crumples to the floor. And that, right there, is the truth behind the sound Mabel heard. Just as the Duke raises his hand again, a brilliant light flashes. Mabel appears between them, like a literal deus ex machina. She tumbles to the ground, rubbing her backside and yelping, "Ouch," though her eyes hold a cunning glint. Did God take pity on me? Giving her the perfect chance to intervene. Enrique just stares dumbfounded. He prayed to see her again, but he never expected it to be like this. Yes, Her Majesty has arrived, appearing in the most unexpected way possible. She didn't just interrupt the assault. She brought with her a storm that's about to capsize the entire house of Javier. The show is about to begin. Mabel takes a deep breath, getting into character. Enrique and Duke Javier are still frozen in shock. The next second, a deafening wail echoes through the corridor. "Wah! It hurts!" She squeezes out a few crocodile tears, crying her eyes out like she's just suffered a mortal wound. Enrique is the first to react, rushing to her side. "Why, Your Majesty?" He's frantic to check on her. In moments, guards and maids come running at the sound of the commotion. "Your Majesty," seeing the little princess sitting on the floor bawling, sends everyone into a panic. This is the same princess who barely cried, even as a baby. "What's the matter, Your Majesty? Tell me what's wrong," the captain of the guard demands. Mabel sobs, and with tears streaming down her face, she raises a trembling finger and points directly at the pale-faced Duke Javier. He hit me." "All right, actors in position. Let the drama begin." "You." The captain's eyes turn razor-sharp. "How dare you lay a hand on Her Majesty?" The Duke is scared out of his wits, waving his hands frantically. "I'd never do anything of the sort." Meanwhile, Mabel wails even louder in her maid's arms. "Wah! Larima, I'm in so much pain. I think I'm gonna die." An acting performance so convincing, it would win her an Oscar. Now you're resorting to lies. This is attempted regicide. The captain roars, absolutely furious. He gives the order without hesitation. "Arrest Duke Javier at once." The Duke completely panics, yelling, "No, please give me a chance to explain." But no one is listening anymore. "I won't hear any of your excuses." The guards swarm him, dragging the struggling Duke away. "Let go of me. I'm innocent. I tell you." His screams echo down the hall, pathetic and useless. Oscar, holding Mabel, watches the chaos unfold, a bit stunned. "What just happened?" Oscar gently takes Mabel's hand, comforting her in a soft voice. "The pest is gone now, so don't cry." Mabel looks up, tears still glistening on her cheeks, but the corner of her mouth is already curving into a victorious smirk. Mission accomplished. To Oscar, Mabel's presence is like a ray of light. The presence of that one single person was enough. That light alone was enough to chase away all his despair. He thought he was abandoned by his sister, broken by his father's cruelty, but Mabel's arrival saved him. Chased away all my despair with her light. And on the other side of things, a shadow lands silently from above. Aiden, Mabel's most loyal knight, has also arrived on the scene. And he's not so easily fooled. Mabel is still playing the victim. Oh, a scratch? This is nothing. It doesn't hurt at all. But Aiden, the person who's been by her side the longest, could tell right away she was faking the whole thing. He's sure she hasn't even had the wound treated yet. The little con artist. But in spite of knowing that, the moment he saw the real scratches on her hand, he felt an urge to kill everyone around her. He knew he wouldn't go through with it, though, as it's not something she would have wanted. So, he chose to play along. Back in her room, Mabel instantly drops the act, letting out a huge sigh of relief. Phew, that was exhausting. That crying scene took a lot out of her. That piece of trash, she really wanted to kill him herself. But now, it looks like someone else will handle the dirty work for her. Hurt. I told you, I was faking it. It was super convincing, right? Mabel boasts to Aiden. He accidentally drops the first aid kit, squatting to pick it up in silence. Mabel leans in, taking his gloved hand. Aiden, I can't believe you were tricked by my acting. Her fingers brush against his arm, and she notices a small wound. Huh, you're wounded. Turns out he scraped his arm when he fell. Mabel covers her face to hide her chuckle, but Aiden's internal monologue is cold and clear. Just as I expected. He saw through everything from the start. Aiden cleans her wound with a blank expression. Mabel teases him. To think there would be such a sweet, gentle side to you, Aiden. He just replies flatly, all done. But his bandaged hand, just for a moment, reveals a dangerous aura that has nothing to do with gentleness. Aiden, don't you think you overdid it with the bandages? Mabel stares at her mummified arm, speechless. Aiden explains calmly, if word spreads that you suffered a grievous injury, the negative impact this incident will have on Duke Javier will be far greater. Mabel is stunned for a second. Then a look of admiration flashes in her eyes. Holy crap, this guy's an even bigger con artist than she is. Her Majesty was severely injured while on an outing. Apparently, Duke Javier was physically violent with her. The news reaches the Emperor's ears like lightning. He explodes. How dare he hurt Mabel? The entire palace trembles with his fury. His precious daughter, his and his beloved Sina's daughter. Anyone who dares to touch a single hair on her head will face his unending wrath. The Emperor bursts into Mabel's room, yelling her name frantically. Mabel, are you all right? Seeing her father's worried face, Mabel immediately switches back to good daughter mode, calling out sweetly, Daddy, this looks quite serious. How is the pain? Is it unbearable? The Emperor asks, his heart aching at the sight of her exaggerated bandages. Mabel shakes her head and whispers, Jay, just a little, although it doesn't actually hurt at all. Her attempt to act tough just makes his heart ache even more. Was Daddy really worried? Mabel asks, batting her eyelashes. The Emperor lets out a weary sigh, gently stroking her hair. This sweet, silly girl. She's the one who's hurt, yet she's worried about him. But as she looks closer at the bloodshot eyes of her father, Mabel realizes something. He doesn't look well at all. More importantly, how dare Duke Javier raise a hand to you? The Emperor's eyes turn to ice. Causing injury to the sovereign of this empire is an unforgivable offense. Such a crime will not be dealt with lightly. The aura of a ruthless king radiates from him, already picturing the Duke's execution. Meanwhile, Mabel is quietly calculating her next move. Daddy, Mabel tugs on his sleeve, asking softly if after Duke Javier is punished, what'll happen to Enrique? Her question gives the Emperor pause. Far away, Enrique himself seems to sense something, a complex, cold smirk playing on his lips. Enrique is a good person, is the vague answer the Emperor gives. Don't you worry about him. Just focus on resting up. He knows his daughter is kind, but as an emperor, he has his own calculations. There are some things she doesn't need to know. After the Emperor leaves, quiet returns to the room. Lying in bed, Mabel thinks, I must have given Daddy quite a fright. Also, he doesn't just seem tired, but ill. A sliver of unease creeps in her heart. As she's lost in thought, she suddenly springs up. Oscar. Oh, Oscar's present. She almost forgot the most important thing. She's on bed rest because she's injured, but that present absolutely must be bought. Just as she's about to hop out of bed to find Aiden for a stealth mission, the door bursts open. Oscar. He's standing right there, watching her silently. And just like that, Mabel's great escape plan is dead on arrival. Oscar. Mabel cries out, delighted. Oscar walks up to her, his gaze falling on her over-the-top bandages. I heard Duke Javier slapped you. His tone is flat, but Mabel can feel the suppressed rage beneath it. Oh, right. She's supposed to be a critically injured patient right now. I'm sorry, Oscar, she immediately apologizes. I went out to buy you a present, but I ended up coming home before I could get you anything. She lowers her head like a guilty child. Because you're mad at me, Oscar. I wanted to ask for your forgiveness. She wanted to make up for it by getting him a present that's even more meaningful than a letter. As she speaks, she can't stop herself from hugging him from behind, burying her face in his back and whimpering, Oscar, I'm so sorry. Please don't hate me. Oscar freezes. He can feel his sister's hug, her words, melting away all the ice and hurt in his heart. Silly Mabel, I'm not mad at you anymore. Oscar turns to face her, his eyes full of tenderness. I don't need any presents. I was just avoiding you because I was embarrassed about how jealous I felt. I could never hate you. With the misunderstanding cleared, the two embrace tightly. You're my one and only sister. And you, Oscar, are my one and only brother. In this palace full of vipers, this genuine bond of family is Mabel's most precious treasure. Making up with Oscar lifted a huge weight off her shoulders. But then her thoughts drift back to her father's weary expression. Come to think of it, he's been looking a bit worn out lately. There's also a strange scent lingering in the room that puts her on edge. The scene cuts to a dark dungeon. Duke Javier kneels in defeat, awaiting his judgment. Footsteps approach, slow and steady, carrying an aura of absolute authority. The Emperor looks down on him, his eyes like chips of ice. The Duke feels like an ant under a magnifying glass, about to be burned to a crisp. He doesn't even dare to look his king in the face. Was it this foot that hurt my daughter? The Emperor's voice is utterly devoid of warmth. A cold sweat breaks out on the Duke's forehead. Asterisk, oh no. He's even angrier than I expected. If I'm not careful, I might really get my head chopped off. Asterisk, this is all a misunderstanding, Your Majesty. I swear I never raised a hand against her. However, if you only choose to believe Her Majesty's side of the story, some may deem Your Majesty a monarch whose judgment is clouded by emotion. The Duke tries to corner the Emperor with his words, but the Emperor just retorts coolly, Is that what you think, Duke Javier? Just then, a voice calls from outside the door. Enter. The person who enters is Enrique. Seeing his son, the Duke latches onto him like a drowning man grabbing a piece of driftwood. That's right. My son Enrique can bear witness for me. He assumes that blood is thicker than water, that his son will save him no matter what. The Emperor's gaze shifts to Enrique, sharp enough to see right through him. He orders, Once you're done here, go see the imperial physician immediately. Enrique replies respectfully, Yes, Your Majesty. He doesn't spare his father a single glance. The Emperor is seething internally. This man didn't just hurt Mabel. He beat his own son, a boy the same age as Oscar, hard enough to leave him bruised and bleeding. This scum doesn't deserve to be a father. He recalls Mabel's testimony. According to her, when she tried to stop Duke Javier while he was physically abusing his son, he kicked her in a fit of anger. He looks at Enrique, waiting for his final statement. That's a lie. The Duke makes his last desperate plea. I was simply disciplining my son. Then Her Majesty fell while approaching us and started crying. Enrique, tell His Majesty the truth. Enrique closes his eyes, the image of Mabel's small figure standing in front of him flashing in his mind. He then opens them and says, with calm clarity, Her Majesty saw that I was being beaten by my father and ran over to stop him. That's when my father, in a fit of rage, dared to cause injury to Her Majesty. This testimony was Duke Javier's death sentence. Enrique, what are you saying? The Duke can't believe his ears. The Emperor's sword is already at his throat. I thank you for your testimony. The Emperor says, his voice as cold as steel. Duke Javier, you will no longer have a seat on the Imperial Council. The final judgment is passed. The Duke collapses, pleading, no longer have a seat. The House of Javier has always served you with loyalty and dedication. Please reconsider, Your Majesty. The Emperor remains stone-faced, ignoring his wails. Stripping him of his political power was just the beginning. What awaited him was a far more complete and utter ruin. You are hereby sentenced to house arrest. From this moment on, you are not allowed to set foot anywhere outside of the Javier estate. That's no different from being exiled. The Duke grabs the iron gates in desperation, screaming, Your Majesty, you cannot do this. But his only answer is the cold, final clang of the gate shutting him in. After the storm has passed, the Emperor looks at Enrique, his tone laced with something unreadable. Are you satisfied? Your father, who is physically abusing you, has effectively been rendered helpless. His words are a test. So, you knew the truth, Enrique says quietly. The Emperor doesn't deny it. Instead, he turns the question back on him. And you? Do you not mind the fact that Her Majesty lied? Enrique doesn't answer. He knows. Mabel's light is born from the unconditional trust and love of her family, and from the boundless kindness she shows to those around her. Her lie was spun to save him, and for that, he would gladly become a part of her scheme. The Emperor studies this boy with his clear eyes, silent for a moment. Then, in a tone that leaves no room for argument, he warns him, Enrique Javier, don't go getting any ideas about my daughter. Enrique freezes, stunned. This father's possessiveness is no joke. The Emperor turns and leaves, letting Enrique stand alone in the quiet aftermath. The storm has passed, but a new, unseen current has begun to stir. In this empire, kindness alone is never enough to protect what you cherish. The road ahead is still long.